Today on Fired Up, we talk self-defense when a mother and her children are threatened by her own husband, who has an existing restraining order.
Someone calls and says, he's here to kill me, and the police don't come or don't arrive on time. You're really sort of on your own, quite honestly.
There's no way any woman is going to leave her kids, any good mother, leave her children in the home. If it comes down to it, I'm shooting my husband if it means my children are going to survive.
And the panel discusses what is the best weapon for self-defense.
I said, what do you want a gun for? She goes, insurance. I said, insurance? I said, what happens if you can't pull the trigger when you have to? That gun is going to be taken away from you and used against you. And she says, I never thought of that. And we ended up selling her a taser.
Bob and Emily answer your questions about gun protocol, and Tony D will demonstrate the British Sten gun. Today on Fired Up.
Hey, I'm Bob Irwin, your host for Fired Up. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to the show. This show is coming to you actually from the gun store in Las Vegas, where we've set up our broadcast here. This program is all about guns, politics, and self-defense. We're trying to present issues that are of importance for discussion among gun owners, and to that effect, we have a panel put together here to show various aspects of the various issues. My co-host is the marketing and wedding manager for the gun store, Emily Miller, sitting to my right here. We also have criminal defense attorney Michael Giles, locally with the firm of Creed and Giles. We also have with us Tony D, our gunsmith and a firearms instructor of many, many years, and fortunately retired Metro PD lieutenant and author Randy Sutton. Welcome to the show, you guys. I'm so glad you're here again today.
Great to be here.
Thank you
For having us.
We're going to deal with the first subject here. We're going to deal with an interesting murder case, or self-defense case as it may be, that is currently in the court system. This took place just a couple of years ago and is now just coming on to trial. The short version of this is in Athens, Tennessee. A lady and her husband are having domestic problems, and there were some threats and apparently some physical violence between the two. She went to the courts and got a protective order ordering him to stay away from her. This is all fairly common stuff. He'd had threatened to kill his wife and even to kill his children, according to some of the witnesses. She called the police department and explained that was going on, and they did an attempt to locate. They found the guy and stopped him at a local motel, Super 8 actually, and they found some narcotics and some firearms in his car and arrested him on misdemeanor crimes. This is kind of a long explanation so you know what's going on here. When he's booked into the jail, the county sheriff realized a protective order existed, but he hadn't actually been served with it. So one of the deputies went to Melissa's house, his wife's house, and got a copy and photographed it and brought it back to the jail and read it to the guy and gave him a copy as required by law. Now he's officially served, so now he officially is required to stay so many feet from her. Later on in the day, around 1:30 in the afternoon, the police department released him from jail. He bailed out. At 1:40 in the afternoon, Melissa called to say that he was at the residence trying to kick in the front door. They rolled units, and when they got there, they found the male half dead in the bedroom. He had pushed his way into the house, and she had shot him and killed him at that point. A lot of stuff here, and generally what happened, what police look at with this is they decided this was very likely self-defense, given the restraining order, but obviously cases get more complicated than that. So I want to look at what could have happened, what did happen, and where this case is going. This is a live case at the moment. I believe the lady half of this is going on trial in about 2 more weeks, because now she has been charged and is being sued by the family of her dead husband. Tony, you instruct self-defense firearms on a daily basis, almost weekly here certainly. What could she do other than call the police and wait for the guy to show up and try to kill her?
Well, and the guy's kicking in his front door. Obviously, he's not collecting for the Red Cross. So obviously, there's something. There's a little problem there. If she could have gotten away or gotten out through the back or whatever, we don't know if the children were there. He had to protect the children also.
Well, I'll throw a monkey wrench at you. Yeah, she had 2 children, young children that she had that were his children and her children. Plus, she had a slightly older child from another marriage in the house.
Well, that, a mother protecting their children also, not only is she protecting herself, she's protecting her children. So, I mean, for her to leave, okay, kids, bye, I'm out the door, probably not a very good situation right there. And I think, justifiably, if she had to do what she had to do, no one obviously wants to kill anybody, but obviously he's violent, he kicked in the door. I don't see a problem.
It seems an open and shut case. And as the police said at the time, in light of the evidence, Melissa wasn't charged with anything. Emily, I hate to throw this on you, but we were talking before the show started, and Emily is familiar with a lot of these types of situations, not hopefully to this degree. Was it fair of her to assume that her husband was being held in the jail as he'd just been arrested? And what could you do besides wait for the guy to show up?
Well, I'm sure if he went to jail, she's assuming he's still in there, and that she's not expecting that moment for him to just come kicking in the door. I feel like she was probably on a heightened sense of awareness and probably uneasiness because of what she just gone through and having to finally serve him and really file that restraining order. But I don't feel like she probably knew he was coming at that exact moment. I'm sure she thought he was still in jail. I mean, I guess he posted his own bond for like $1,500 or something like that.
Yeah, he posted the bail
Yeah.
And was at the house
within
10
minutes.
after
He's on a
he
mission.
was released.
He's on a mission. He's already threatened her. He's threatened the children. And I'm sorry, my mother, she's a nice lady. You mess with any of her children and she will destroy you. Like, there's no way any woman is going to leave her kids, any good mother, leave her children in the home. If it comes down to it, I'm shooting my husband if it means my children are going to survive. If he's whacked out on drugs or something, absolutely not.
I agree with all of that. There's we're ending up with a dead person here. We don't want that to happen if possible.
Of course not. But they probably shouldn't try and shoot children.
So, Randy, the problem seems to be laid, and the lawsuits that are coming now is laid at the feet of the police department for knowing there's a protective order, knowing he had threatened, etc. He was in possession of firearms when they took him to jail. He had narcotics with him. He has a bit of an arrest record in the town, which I hadn't gone into, but he's a local, kind of a tough guy, gets in bar fights and things. What could the police do, or what should they have done different, or do you want to second guess them at this point? I realize we're missing a lot of details here, but...
Well, we are, and the fact that he was arrested on drugs and gun charges, had a protective order against him, demonstrates that he's got a propensity for violence. There were also suicidal threats made to himself, and I believe from what I researched in this case, there had been indications made to the wife that they were going to have him evaluated by a medical facility because of those suicidal and homicidal threats. Apparently,
the police had told her that.
Correct.
That they were going to try and have him evaluated.
So she was under the mistaken impression that he was going to be evaluated because of those threats to himself, and I think that she was under the mistaken impression that he wasn't coming back. And when he did show up, clearly, as Emily said, he was a man on a mission, and she had every right to defend herself, her family. This guy had already shown violence against her, and you have to protect yourself. So I don't see. I read some of the statements by the family that's suing her, and quite honestly, they're ridiculous statements.
Well, there are, and I'll explain that the brother and his sister are suing the police department and so forth for him not getting counseling and how he was really a nice guy. But as soon as somebody gets killed doing something like this, they're always a wonderful, nice guy.
Well, there might be an issue about that. There might be an issue if he demonstrated an active threat to himself, having him evaluated by a local hospital or by a physician is a normal thing to be done by the police. Now, of course, this is a rural area. You don't know what their procedures are.
This is a rural area, small department. The county sheriff is involved. He made some of the statements in the report, and the local police. You've actually got two agencies here. It's the county's jail and the police department's officers generally acting here. There's got to be somebody that, I mean, I don't want to second guess, but you know, we got a guy here who at the time clearly deserved getting shot. I mean, there's some people you can't stop without gunfire, but the I don't know. I'm going to throw it back at the attorney here, and we're going to have to take a little bit of a break. We'll be right back, and Mr. Giles will straighten out this entire thing for us.
Okay.
Coming up later, Bob and Emily answer your questions about gun protocol, and Mike Rogers brings you the moron of the week right here on Fired Up. Jean's Locksmith has been servicing Las Vegas and Henderson for 40 years. We're family owned and operated and provide 24-hour emergency residential, commercial, and automotive solutions. Instead of replacing, we can fix your problem, from key duplication to computer key programming. We have a wide variety of products, including the largest key selection, state-of-the-art security accessories, and safes by American Securities. Every team member carries their sheriff's card, so you can trust us when it matters most. Come to the castle. Jean's Locksmith. Call us at 566-4363.
Are you able to protect your loved ones? We at the Gun Store have been helping Las Vegas residents equip themselves with home defense and personal safety products for over 25 years. We carry a full line of self-defense options, and our CCW concealed firearms permit class is free. Our other classes include ladies self-defense and free children's gun safety class. Our indoor range is open 7 days a week for you to try out some options and shoot a real machine gun. The Gun Store, located at 2900 East Tropicana Avenue.
And we are back here on Fired Up. We just left it where I'm going to ask Mr. Giles to straighten out the legalities here. About the lawsuit against the police department?
No.
Not? But
No,
where are we at?
there's no lawsuit against the police department. The United States Supreme Court has ruled that the police have no duty or obligation to protect an individual, even in these circumstances. In fact, almost all of the cases that they've held that, or appeals courts have held that, involve domestic violence issues where someone calls and says, he's here to kill me, and the police don't come or don't arrive on time. You're really sort of on your own, quite honestly, for a period of time. Police officers are going to respond as quickly as they can, if they can. She knew he was there. She was on 911. From a legal standpoint, as a defense attorney, I believe she acted absolutely appropriately in this case. Now, because the family of the deceased doesn't feel that way, they're going to sue her, and they can bring that lawsuit, and if they can convince more than half the jury that they're right, they'll prevail. The civil standard is much different than the criminal standard. Ultimately, the restraining order in this case acted like many of them do. Restraining orders are only as effective as the individual that's being restrained. If that piece of paper, if they're truly scared of the system, that piece of paper might keep them from coming around. But it's like, a gated community. The gate's 8 feet tall, and a spry, healthy individual can jump right over it, but everybody living behind the gate thinks, ooh, there's a gate, we're safe. So, unfortunately, a motivated individual who truly has that anger in their heart and wants to do harm, they're not going to care about that piece of paper.
He posted bail to go and do this.
He posted bail specifically to go to the house.
10 minutes.
And
How tiny
Athens
is
is
this town?
not a large place.
Yeah.
Everybody knows everybody. As the old saying goes, they've all met. And so when they let him out, I'm sure somebody down there knew or suspected things weren't going to go well, but they fell back on there's a restraining order, and we told him, and he promised not to go. And the pinky promise didn't hold up in this case.
So the actual solution for this is for the lady to be her own best defense, and if possible get out of Dodge before he shows up while she knows he's still in jail. And if the police don't notify her he's out, I gotta believe they're on the hook for that one. I know they're immune.
Well, it's not incumbent on the police to notify someone that someone's released from jail.
I would think that would be
If
the
that
obvious
were the case, we'd have to have 100 operators working 24 hours a day making notifications.
Professor Don Cates summed it up this way. There are 500,000 police officers in this country at any one time, split out over 4 shifts a day with vacations, time off. It's just not possible.
Coming up later, Bob and the panel discuss gun laws that are being posed in some states and how that could affect you.
Still have individuals who are criminals go ahead and utilize a firearm. They're not going to care about the firearm portion. Another law on the books is not going to substantially alter the landscape.
But up next, Mike Rogers brings you the Moron of the Week right here on Fired Up. Stay with us. Are you tired of the same old routine? It's time to shake things up with a visit to the Pro Gun Club of Las Vegas. Located just 25 minutes from the Strip, Pro Gun Club offers 160 acres of space, featuring skeet shooting, rifle and handgun ranges. It's a great place to practice, and safety is always number one. Come anytime and enjoy the grounds, or ask about our membership. The Pro Gun Club is a great place to celebrate and respect your Second Amendment right. Spice up your leisure time with the Pro Gun Club. Call us at 293-2108 today. Gene's Locksmith has been servicing Las Vegas and Henderson for 40 years. We're family owned and operated and provide 24-hour emergency residential, commercial, and automotive solutions. Instead of replacing, we can fix your problem, from key duplication to computer key programming. We have a wide variety of products, including the largest key selection, state-of-the-art security accessories, and safes by American Securities. Every team member carries their sheriff's card, so you can trust us when it matters most. Come to the castle. Gene's Locksmith. Call us at 566-4363.
Are you able to protect your loved ones? We at the Gun Store have been helping Las Vegas residents equip themselves with home defense and personal safety products for over 25 years. We carry a full line of self-defense options, and our CCW concealed firearms permit class is free. Our other classes include ladies self-defense and free children's gun safety class. Our indoor range is open 7 days a week for you to try out some options and shoot a real machine gun. The Gun Store, located at 2900 East Tropicana Avenue.
Hi, I'm Mike Rogers, Director of Safety and Training for the Gun Store. We have a new feature for this show. It's called Moron of the Week. Luckily, our customers are not morons, but there are some out there. We're going to highlight one every week and try to bring some training value to the subject.
Hey there, Black Fraction. I didn't like the way you and your boys were disrespecting me last night. I just wanted to let you know that you better think twice again before you disrespect me, because honestly, I've done things that you and your boys would never do. Alright? So just know that you're all pussy. You know, I go harder than anyone I know, much less anyone that you know, okay? So, you dig? Do you dig? You're from New Jersey and you don't know how to do it. But my raps are tighter than yours, my muscles are bigger, you ain't got no chains, you ain't got no wife beaters, no guns, no hair gel. Just respect me. You ain't nothing. I'll come up there, probably flash my guns around a little bit. I'll go, ooh, dude, my mom's gonna kill me. Oh my God.
Well, I guess he exemplifies moron on many levels. One of the things that brings to mind is the fact that it's absolutely essential that you understand the state of your firearm at all times. If you intend to use it to save your life, perhaps it's a good idea that you take a peek in there and make sure that it's really loaded. In his case, he probably should have known that it was unloaded. To do so, we would remove the magazine, we'd remove the round in the chamber, we'd physically occupy the space in which the round would be and make sure that it's empty. At that time, we know the gun is safe. We still keep it pointed in a safe direction and handle as if it's loaded at all times.
You're watching Fired Up with Bob. We want to take a minute here and answer some viewer questions that you guys have sent in for Bob. So I'm going to ask you a couple of these viewer questions. The first one comes from Scott in Las Vegas. He says, Bob, recently my father passed away and I inherited his firearms. A friend of mine told me I need to take in his pistols to Metro Police Department and have them re-registered to me. Do I really need to do this? Thanks, Scott in Las Vegas. It's a pretty common question that we get.
Pretty common question, and Scott, yes, you really need to do that. We have a law in Clark County that says your pistols have to be registered with the police department. So you live in unincorporated Clark County, Henderson, North Las Vegas, any place like that. The only place you don't have to register them in Southern Nevada is if you live in Boulder City. Otherwise, you need to go to the nearest substation with the guns empty, in a paper bag or something. So you don't walk through the door of the police station with a gun in your hand. That can be a little dicey. But have them out of sight and unloaded, and walk in and just tell the lady you need to register them. They'll do that for you, have you fill out a little form with your name and address. They'll check the gun for you to make sure that it's okay and give it back to you. It takes about 10 minutes and it's absolutely free. Nothing to it.
Now that is if they want to keep the guns. Now if they inherit the guns and they want to sell them, like say they want to come and sell them to a private party or they want to sell them to us at the gun store, do they need to get them re-registered to themselves before they sell them?
No, they don't.
Okay.
They can bring them in and we can buy them, and we then check the guns at the same time. Okay. But being as we're taking them out of their possession, when we do that, there's no need to register them because they'll be registered as soon as we log them into our book, basically.
Well, they've got options.
They have options.
Our second question comes from Todd here in Las Vegas. He says, Bob, I am a longtime Nevada resident and have always open carried when it suited me to do so. What are the advantages of a CCW versus open carry, and how would I go about doing it, and how long does it take?
A multiple question, but the easy part is getting the permit. There's a class you need to attend to get a concealed carry permit. We teach it here for free. There are other places in town they teach it for a slight cost. When you finish the class, which is 1 day, we give you forms to take down to the police department. They fingerprint you and take your picture and so forth. It takes about 120 days max. Usually they're getting them back to you in about 90, where you can then carry your gun concealed rather than open. And the advantage to that is huge. If you're carrying a gun for self-defense, you really don't want the bad guy to know you're carrying. If you're the guy in the liquor store or in the bank carrying your gun and a robber comes in, he's going to shoot you first because he sees the gun. So when you're carrying, we strongly advise everybody to carry concealed so nobody knows but you, and nobody knows you have a gun unless you need it. That's the safe way to be. Get the permit. It's a good thing to do.
A lot of people get very uneasy, I think, when they see a firearm, even in a gun-friendly state like Nevada. If they see an exposed firearm, a lot of times they get very nervous if they're not somebody that's in uniform, like a police officer. Sure. So just to kind of prevent that, we like to advocate for CCWs so that you can have it hidden if you actually need to use it. It's accessible, but that you're not scaring everyone.
But you don't scare everybody around you, because you realize even if you're the most honest guy in the world and you're carrying your gun openly walking down the street, somebody is going to see that and call the police. And the police will come, because they have to, man with a gun call, and they're going to see you have a permit and so forth and so on, and you're fine, and they'll pat you on the head and you walk away. But it's just one more police contact that really doesn't need to happen. If you carry concealed, a lot smarter, better for you, better for the police, and better for you to protect yourself with a concealed gun.
Well, thank you for watching Fired Up, and if you have any questions, please don't forget you can go ahead and submit those to us and we can answer them right here on the show.
Stay with us as our panel discusses what weapon makes the best self-defense weapon for you and your home, right here on Fired Up.
We are back here on Fired Up. I'm your host, Bob Irwin, back with my panel. Randy Sutton from the Metro Police Department, Emily Miller from the gun store, Michael Giles, lawyer from Creed and Giles, and Tony D., our gunsmith firearms instructor guy. In the previous shows, we get a lot of questions about home defense and what type of gun should I have, what type of weapon should I have. And this really came to mind for doing something on this show, because I just a few days ago got a question from a guy who called to say that he had a M1 carbine with a bayonet and wanted to know if it was appropriate, if somebody broke into his house, to stab him with the bayonet. And I said, well, you don't have ammunition for it? And he said, no, I have a 30-shot clip. But, you know, if I want to really convince people they shouldn't break in my house, if I stab them a couple of times, that'll really show them where it's at. it gave me some insight to maybe we need to talk a little bit about firearms for the house, other weapons for the house, which, ladies and gentlemen, would not include bayonets at the top of the list.
It would justify Dianne Feinstein's ban on bayonet lugs, though. You know, I mean, you know.
I can just see the lawsuit coming that you maimed my client by stabbing him in the eye with a bayonet. You know, self-defense is self-defense. If you need to defend yourself, you need to defend yourself. That one just has a lot of interesting things to it. We have, in general, rifles, shotguns, pepper sprays, tasers, baseball bats, anything, weapons at hand are always appropriate if somebody is trying to bash your brains in or rape you or something. There are lots of choices and lots of expert opinions in this. But I'm going to try and get our panel to weigh in on this a little bit from their experiences and where it goes. Emily, I'm going to start with you. Frequently we get customers that have make the statement they really don't want to kill anybody, and I honestly don't think anybody really wants to kill anybody.
The bayonet guy might.
The bayonet guy would be the exception. I think that's where he'd lose his case. But that was just a bizarre phone call, and it'll take me weeks to get over it. Anyway,
very
we're.
I don't have a bayonet.
When that call came in, ladies and gentlemen, I asked an attorney who laughed. So that was the response of the legal community. People who want non-lethal,
Yes.
what do you suggest to them?
Well, there's a couple of things. If you can't take your guns to place, because we flat out know there are places you cannot take a gun. I have a taser and I have a knife, and I take my taser everywhere. It's pink, it's quite adorable, and I always feel safe with it because if I can't take a gun into a bar, or sometimes I might have a glass of wine or two.
Really?
And I don't want to, yeah, I know it's happening. Crazy, right? Italian, it's very strange. I sometimes worry about, okay, can I have my gun on me? Am I over the legal limit? I'm not driving anywhere, but can I have my gun? And there's a lot of places where they just don't, I don't want to mess with that, or it's posted, I can't take it. So I carry my taser. And I feel like if it can drop a 2,700-pound bull in a second, I'm all right with the crazy guy that might be following me to my car. I feel very safe. I actually did pull it out. I was followed to my car by 4 guys. My boyfriend at the time and I were followed. I was actually at a local shopping area, and I pulled my taser out, and they didn't know what it was, but I pulled it out, and it was menacing enough that they left. So
far, so good.
I'm really
100%.
tough. I'm really tough.
And tasers are generally non-lethal. We get a lawsuit once, twice a year where someone dies after being hit with a taser, but it's very, very rare.
I had a woman come in the store a few years ago that she'd been brutally raped. Black-eyed, broken nose, and she wanted to buy a gun. And after I talked to this woman for about 5 minutes, I realized that she should not own a gun. And I said, if this happens to you again, you may end up shooting and killing the person that did this. And she said, absolutely not. She goes, I could not take a human life. I said, really? I says, you couldn't shoot the guy who beat and raped you. She
Even
goes,
at the
absolutely
expense
not.
of her own.
Right. And she says, I said, what do you want a gun for? She goes, insurance. I said, insurance? I said, what happens if you can't pull the trigger when you have to? That gun is going to be taken away from you and used against you. And she says, I never thought of that. And we ended up selling her a taser. Yeah, so it worked good.
In this debate, I'm going to be the guy who votes for handguns as the home defense weapon. They are easier to manipulate in smaller areas. Generally, the attacker is very, very close. A lot of marksmanship isn't required. But I found that that's what I end up recommending to everybody. And I think police, even when they do home searches, are generally better off with handguns in close quarters than they are with rifles. My opinion, small enough to hide and keep it near the door. Tony, I know we've talked that shotguns certainly have the scary advantage, and they always end the fight.
The Remington Vegematic.
Immediately.
It slices it, dices it, mangles it, murders. The Remington Vegematic. I've investigated 7 shootings with shotguns. All 7 of them were one-shot stops. Bang, down. 5 of them were homicide. Bang, dead. It's very hard for a very frail mammal that we are to remain upright after taking 1 ounce of lead ripping through our frail little bodies. The scare factor, you hearing that rack in the middle of the night, believe me, there's nothing more frightening than that's the universal translator. Go away, right? And another thing, we had a little old lady in CCW class several years ago. She was so weak she couldn't pull the slide back on any semi-auto. She couldn't pull the double action on any revolver. We didn't know what to do with her. We ended up selling a little 20-gauge Mossberg pump, and this little old lady turned into Rambette. Boom, boom, boom. right on Metro responded. She got two guys broke into her house. She barricaded herself in her upstairs bedroom. She got on the phone. She was talking to Metro, and you hear the guys ransacking the house. They're upstairs. They're trying to bed. She goes, "I got a shotgun in here." Rack, rack. Gone. That's it. Nothing like a shotgun.
Lieutenant, Metro, like most modern departments now, carry rifles rather than shotguns. In my area, they all carry shotguns. We've gone to rifles. Looking at the rifle as a home defense tool.
Inappropriate. Rifles are carried by most police departments now, in addition to shotguns, not instead of, because they're really for two different types of encounters. A rifle is only appropriate for home defense if you're defending the Alamo. For home defense, you want to have something that's quick, that you can get to in a hurry, because these things happen in a heartbeat often, and the ballistics of a rifle are that if you miss, that bullet that is going to go far and away further than if it was a pistol bullet. So it really is not an appropriate thing unless you are a superbly trained commando that keeps your AR-15 by your bed and is ready to rock and roll with it. I don't think it's an appropriate home defense weapon.
I'd have to agree, and the other thing with handguns is I see the long guns, shotguns, and rifles being very difficult in close quarters. If you wake up and the guy's in your bedroom, I mean, the civilians that come in, they say the guy's going to be down the hall when you wake up. I said, no, he isn't. He's going to be standing over your bed with the hatchet when you wake up, you know. So you need something you can get quicker. It was actually made about Michael Giles here. What I want to ask you, Michael, we all realize people can use deadly force in defense.
Right.
Have you ever had the case, because we've had people ask, if I shoot this guy 6 times with my .44 Magnum, am I going to get sued over that when somebody says we use too much force?
Well, sued over it isn't the real concern. Would you be prosecuted because of it's a bigger concern? I fully anticipate that the vast majority of defensive shootings will result in some kind of a lawsuit, and the caliber, the type of the firearm, your skill level is always going to come into that. But I've seen actual prosecutions where the prosecutor said, this had to be homicide because you used hollow point bullets or because you used a .44 Magnum. I'm familiar with, we recently had the Zimmerman trial that I know, everybody watched. They made a big deal out of, there was a round in the chamber. Well, that's asinine. Everybody knows you carry a self-defense firearm, it's useless if it's not loaded. But they made an issue of it, and they're hoping that it played with the jury.
So there's no serious danger using a shotgun to defend yourself. But before we end this, seriously, how about a bayonet?
If it's the only tool you have, fine. It shouldn't be your primary option.
Coming up later, Bob and the panel discuss gun laws that are being posed in some states and how that could affect you. When we come back, Tony D shows you the historic British Sten gun. That's here on Fired Up.
Hi, I'm Tony D with the Gun Store here in Las Vegas. Thanks for watching Fired Up with Bob. We're going to be talking about some historical guns, and this one here is a World War II British Sten gun, S-T-E-N. And the Sten means it was designed by 2 guys named Shepard and Turpin. That's the S, that's the T, and they both worked for Enfield, and that's the E-N. They were the gun designers for Enfield in England, and they actually drew up the fire control group of this gun on a cocktail napkin in a pub. Typical British boys are having a good time. Britain needed guns really fast at the beginning of the war, and they didn't have a whole bunch of them, so they came up with this. As you can see, it's very, very ugly, and it was made very, very cheaply. And parts were made in different in factories and backyards and small machine shops, and it was a very crude design. However, it was very effective. This particular model here was made, Long Branch means it's a Canadian gun, and it was made in 1945, right at the end of the war. But they were used extensively by Britain, all the British Commonwealths, all of Africa and Rhodesia. It was a very, very good gun, very cheap gun, and it was a very reliable gun. It's got a pretty bad reputation, but in fact, I'm kind of fond of it. This gun's in 9mm caliber, the same caliber that the Germans used and the same caliber the Italians used, and it fires from a 30-round box magazine. The magazines were the biggest downfall of this gun. They were made by several different factories and locations, and they were kind of the weak point of the whole design. But very reliable gun, shoots about 450, 500 rounds a minute. Load her up, and here we go. As you can see, it works pretty well.
Our panel discusses state laws being imposed on gun rights and how that affects you here on Fired Up. Stay with us.
And we are back here on Fired Up. One of the things that everybody in the gun industry has noticed, hopefully, is there's a large campaign going on right now to eliminate firearms, to limit firearms, to limit magazine capacities. You know, something we didn't hit much in our last segment talking about self-defense, but the people in New York now who will defend themselves against 6 guys breaking in with a gun that holds 7 shots and junk like that. I want to particularly address the Mayors Against Illegal Guns and Mayor Michael Bloomberg's campaign that he's launched to eliminate firearms, to tighten up gun laws. Gun laws in general stop honest people from having firearms. They don't stop criminals. You know, we can make all the bumper sticker statements here, and I'm sure you've all heard them. They have umpteen murders and shootings in Chicago where it's not legal to own a gun. The laws obviously don't prevent criminals from doing that. But Mayor Bloomberg is an interesting individual. He spent $12 million of his own money, he's a billionaire, to try and alter the vote in Congress, in the Senate, on the gun bills that came up. He spent $1.5 million here in Nevada running television commercials, trying to convince people to call Senator Heller to get him to vote against against the gun bills that were there, some of which were really onerous to manufacturers and dealers. But the fact that this guy is spending his own money, he's in New York City, where he has nothing to do with our state or most of the others. And I did pull something interesting from ATF's research. They track crime guns, and they made the statement during the middle of this, we got to get Nevada senators to vote against this bill, that the ATF, as far as they know, there has never been a gun used in crime in New York City that originated in Nevada, that was originally sold in Nevada. So Nevada hasn't supplied a single crime gun to New York City, but we're getting this $1.5 million spent to push our senator to do this bill. It's insane. Michael, does not Nevada already have sufficient laws? I don't want you to try and recite them all. We've got like 6 minutes here, but that make it illegal to shoot people unlawfully and commit crimes with guns. We have an additive sentence here, don't we?
Absolutely. We have gun crimes ranging from misdemeanors all the way up to an additional sentence imposed for the use of a deadly weapon. We have specific crimes where if you commit it without a firearm, it's probationable, but if you do it with a firearm, it's straight to prison, do not pass go, and they still have individuals who are criminals go ahead and utilize a firearm. They walk, kind of like the restraining order issue, they walk right through the law. They're not paying attention to the big part of the law. They're not going to care about the firearm portion. Another law on the books is not going to, in my opinion, substantially alter the landscape.
And Chicago is obviously an example of that, and Bloomberg's New York City, where we don't have particularly low crime. Tony, I know you just returned from there.
Just
on
got
vacation,
back from
3 days ago,
Oh
like 7 days before this will show on the air.
Unbelievable.
So
It's there's a state of rebellion right now on as far as the gun shops. I travel to several of the gun shops, friends of mine, And I'm telling you, it's sad. It really is. They can't sell. All their magazines have to be permanently rendered to 10 rounds, permanently rendered, or get rid of them. You privately own your stuff. You got to get rid of it or permanently modify it to 10 rounds. You must you have to get it out of state. You have to sell
no
your stuff.
grandfathering, anything?
No compensation, no nothing. Gone, out of there. The rifles that are there, people have now, they even got a section for antique assault rifles. Right? I mean, yeah. Oh, they got. It's absolutely ludicrous. A lot of the upstate sheriffs are not going to enforce it. Our governor, Andrew Cuomo, of course. You don't need 7 bullets to kill a deer. I don't think deer is in the Second Amendment anywhere. Is it deer? I mean,
look, never found.
You know, the man is. I mean, they're getting crazy. I mean, it's absolutely sad. It really is. They're trying to just drive word gun out of everything in New York. And, you know.
As an expert in crime in New York, and I can make you one, because if you didn't know, Tony was many, many years a police officer in Rochester, New York.
20 years.
And you ran their SWAT team, and
SWAT. Yeah.
You know, this guy speaks from where he knows what he's talking about.
We had an officer shot while I was there. While a sergeant was shot right there.
With a gun that held more than 7 rounds?
Yes, absolutely.
The bad guy still
shot him in arm, chest, and other arm. He got him all the way across, emptied the gun, and the officer survived because of his vest, obviously, but he had 2 arm hits too while I was there. I carry a 32, I carry a Walther 32 here. It holds 9 rounds. And I would have to download 2 rounds to New York. So I carry my 1911. I carry 7 rounds of a 45 or 9 rounds of a 32. So I mean, it's absolutely scary. I mean, I don't know. Everybody's just so down. A lot of the sheriffs, they're not going to enforce it. There's a big revolt. There's a lawsuit. Apparently, they lost the first leg of the lawsuit, though. It was upheld, but now they're going to appeal it. So it's going to be a long, ongoing thing, and all of upstate is totally different than downstate. It's just like here.
And a lot of armed citizens that own guns are going to end up in legal trouble over it when they didn't do anything wrong.
I mean, they're just refusing to register. There was a whole stack of registration forms I saw at a gun shop, for the registered assault rifle. I asked the guy, how many you've got? None. They're using them for kitty litter. Nobody's registering nothing.
Randy, this is coming up in Colorado also with the sheriffs there refusing to enforce things. Where do we go when the police department says, I'm simply not going to enforce this law, that it's unconstitutional, and I ain't going to do it?
This is a huge issue, and it's very, very divisive. Now, I don't think we're going to see that issue here in Nevada. I think we're a little too politically correct for that. But there are nationally, when law enforcement refuses to go after the violators of a law that is duly enacted, you pretty much have mutiny. And I mean, this really goes to the heart of what it means to be a law enforcement officer, but there's a lot of unanswered questions here.
It's going to be a very, very divisive issue, and I am, I don't know what, I'm kind of glad I'm not a cop anymore, because I wouldn't be caught in this trying to arrest somebody for something that violates the Constitution. We're running a little bit over on this, but I want to go ahead and finish up. So, Emily, we had recently the mayor of New York has a bus loaded with all these
the Bloomberg bus was
anti-gun people, and the Bloomberg bus was here in Nevada.
Yep. We went to the Clark County shooting range, the Clark County Shooting Park, I believe. Yeah. And it was weren't they closed? I think that they were actually closed that day.
On Monday.
So they showed up for the big media op, and it was closed. So
but there's no opposition because the range is closed.
Well, you set the stage for what you want to see. So yeah, they showed up to the Clark County Shooting Park, and it was closed, and they were the only ones there. And I think she fired her. She had like a 22 that she fired, and
Gabby Gifford fired a 22 here in Nevada. And then said, we ought to get rid of all these assault guns and so forth and so on. And it was a touching moment. I wish I could have been there, but they didn't allow any of the public in to that conference. That's going to have to do it for this issue of Fired Up. I thank you everybody for watching. Please circulate your money around our sponsors. They help keep us on the air. We'll be back in the same time frame next week. Thanks for watching.